Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So taking out a very exciting and very unexpected episode for you guys this evening because it's not very often that lost Sega NAOMI arcade games end up getting ported home to PC in 2025 by one of the original developers. But that's exactly what happened as of yesterday. Pochi and Nyaa, or Pochi and Nyaa depending on how you want to pronounce it, has now been released for the PC in 2025. And that is absolutely mind-blowing because, again, think of how many canceled arcade games are out there that no one ever got a chance to play, and somehow suddenly, about 25 years after this was supposed to be released, you can now download it and play it on PC. It's an absolutely wild time. I can't believe it's happened, but it's one of those things. It's here today and we can check it out. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. But I just honestly love this game. I love all sorts of filing puzzle games, and of course, if you watch the channel and know me, I love unreleased arcade games. So you combine all three of those together and you just have the trifecta of something that nobody saw coming and you should be absolutely happy about. If you've never played this game before, it's basically a combination of something like Puyo Puyo along with the ideas of Tetris. You need to combine as many color cats as you can, and then you can press a button and switch them over from just standard cats to what I assume is exploding cats. You'll see here I continue to kind of stack those colors. You want to get bigger chains going and you want to get bigger combos going, because then once you actually eliminate all of those cat icons from the screen, you will send a bunch of dogs over to the other side, and that is just hilarious because honestly, you know, on the channel I've loved using cat pen and dog pen, so it's one of those things. This game is probably perfect for video game esoterica, and I just absolutely love that so many years later this game was able to actually squeak out. Now there's some very interesting details online. No one's quite sure if the current rights holder actually even knows of this release. It was released by one of the developers and employees of Compile from back in the day. If you're not familiar with the story, Compile basically went bankrupt while this was actually occurring, the development, and it ended up getting finished up for Neo Geo and then ported to PlayStation 2. But this version of the game has unique characters and different features, so it really is kind of its own complete game, and now it's available for everyone to play. And that is absolutely awesome, and I even love the logo here. The little cat pops down and just basically jiggles that C from Compile. The idea, again, that this is just something that could run on Sega NAOMI is absolutely fun. Now, if you're wondering if this is running via emulation, it doesn't seem to be so, at least as far as I can tell. When you download it, you get a folder with all of the game's files as well as an executable, but I don't really see any signs of this running via any sort of Dreamcast or NAOMI emulation. Now, I don't know, maybe within that executable there is a very light NAOMI emulator packed inside of it. I'm really not sure what's exactly going on here, and when you load the game up, you just basically get an arcade test menu to launch the game in and of itself, so it's a very interesting thing. And before you ask, yes, I've heard rumors of people now thinking about backporting this to the Sega NAOMI. Some people out there just talking about trying to get it on a cartridge so we can have a new Sega game in 2025 or maybe 2026. And if it runs on NAOMI, I'm sure it could also be ported over to the Sega Dreamcast, because obviously NAOMI is nothing more than a Dreamcast, a little bit more horsepower duct taped onto the side of it with a cartridge connector. But I'm sure everyone would absolutely love to see a Dreamcast version of this game come out, even if it does just run on something like the GDMU. And as far as performance is concerned, this will definitely run on a potato, and all of the controls are bound via the keyboard. There will be a text file within the folder explaining the controls, but you do need to have some sort of kanji support for your actual operating system if you want to see that. The good thing is the website that actually just details the game's download and where you pay for it also has the controls, and you can just use something like Translate within your browser to understand how to play the game, because that might trip you up. And if you're wondering as far as the musical sample is concerned, it is coming, but just so you know, at least in these gameplay sections, I've added music in post from other versions of the game, because at least on my system, it had music in the intro, it had sound effects, but there was not actually any stage music. Maybe that's just an issue I face, maybe it's just not complete, but I have added a little bit of audio in just so it's not nothing but sound effects and me talking underneath it. But go ahead and listen to the sound effects in the first level, and then go ahead and listen to the music in the introductory sequence of the game, because it is quite good. But then come back, because I'll tell you a lot more about the history of this lost arcade game, and maybe give you some hints about another lost arcade game you might be playing soon. I mean, the music sounds great when you do get music, and the sound effects definitely work, but I'm just not quite sure if there's supposed to be more audio tracks in this actual build, or if what I'm getting is exactly as it's expected. Now, on the gameplay front, if you never played this one before, definitely check it out, especially if you love something like Puyo Puyo. This one has a very inventive hook, basically allowing you to control how much is on screen at once. You can absolutely just build up the entire stage and try to maximize all of those cats to get the biggest combo, or you just kind of make sure you keep your screen as clear as possible with small combos, just basically overwhelming your opponent. And trust me, this game gets absolutely difficult as time goes on, and it does have 2-player support, but I wasn't really able to make that run within this build, so it might be something that actually was never implemented. So as far as I can tell, it is a 1-player experience, at least as of right now, but I'm sure that could change, because now that it's out there, modders will probably go through this thing and make it do a ton of stuff that Compile never did back in the day. And you'll see sometimes you get some very interesting sets in the beginning of levels as well, with this gigantic double stack of green cats. You can either knock it out very quickly, or you can kind of try to build around it, but I did screw this one up because it's been a little bit of forever since I played this game. But it just is a really interesting development history. Compile was making this game and they basically went bankrupt. SNK Playmore stepped in to help get this game released, and it ended up on PlayStation 2, but interestingly, none of those versions are identical to this one. Had this come out back in the day, it's not like it would have been some top 10 best Naomi games of all time candidate, but it definitely would have been something that would have been fun to play and people would fondly remember it. And if you are a big Dreamcast and Sega NAOMI fan, you've probably heard of this one before and you've realized whatever happened to that game. But honestly, the method in which this released was absolutely wild. Yesterday I got like 3 or 4 Discord messages and a couple DMs on Twitter from people saying, did you see that this game, Pochi and Nyaa, was now out? And I hadn't seen it yet, and I was just absolutely blown away by the fact that this thing has just been sitting around for a couple decades now, waiting to see the light of day, and that day has finally come, because 2025 has been an absolutely massive year for Sega fans. We've got a ton of fun on the Dreamcast front, we've gotten a bunch on the Sega Saturn front, we have the Mr. FPJ Sega Saturn Core, really the ultimate retro gaming console in 2025 feels like it's made by Sega, because we've been getting so much fun, and it is one of those things, maybe somewhere there is a prototype of the Naomi cartridge sitting in somebody's office that could be dumped, because again, I can't tell if this is using emulation, there's no signs of it within the actual game executable in and of itself, but it could be obscured. So you may comment down below and you tell me, do you think this is emulation or you think it's a native PC version of the game? Because honestly, it is quite hard to figure out. The only thing I know is it's absolutely amazing to have a new experience like this in 2025, and it makes me wonder how many other Naomi builds and Dreamcast builds are still hiding out there, either in developers' hands or fans' hands that just haven't dumped them yet, because there were a ton of Naomi games that never actually got released in arcades, and obviously on the Dreamcast side we have a metric crap ton of games that were cancelled. But it's time for your second soundtrack sample, and do be aware I have added music in from a different version of this game. This is kind of what you would expect it to sound like, at least on other versions, so go ahead and listen for 30 seconds and enjoy, but I'll be right back with a lot more. Super fun music, super fun sound effects, but obviously that music was something I added in post. And again, if you want to play this game, the link is in the description below. Not sure how long it's going to be online, maybe for a day, maybe for a week, maybe for all eternity, but it's definitely something. You should support the person that releases, because they did work on the game back in the day, and they've brought us a completely lost Sega NAOMI game. That's not something you can say all the time. I can't even think of the last game that came out from Sega NAOMI that was supposed to be released back in the day, but never was. If you remember which one that one is, leave me a comment down below. But Pochi and Nyaa here, or Pochi and Nyaa, depending on how you want to pronounce it, it's just a straight up fun time, and it is one of those things from a historical context. Getting an unreleased Sega NAOMI game is just something that I love every day of the week and twice on Sundays. But tell me down below if you ever played any of the games in this franchise. This is your first time hearing about it, because I would be curious. But as far as the Sega NAOMI is concerned, one more game that was lost to time is no longer lost. You can play it today, and that's just something absolutely to celebrate. You know, I love my prototypes on the channel, and I'll have one soon for you guys. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.